The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
In a game where Caitlin Clark was getting hacked left and right, and the refs did nothing, fans were screaming one thing: do something. And Sophie Cunningham, she understood the assignment in a moment. That's now gone absolutely viral. Sophie Cunningham.
Sheldon going coast to coast, and we got another.
Didn't just send a message to JCS Sheldon. She didn't just send a message to the Connecticut Sun, she sent a message to the entire WNBA. Don't mess with Caitlin Clark, and while fans are absolutely losing it over how Caitlin Clark was attacked on,
teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
The court with no real consequences from the refs, they finally got what they've been begging for: an enforcer, a protector, someone who's not afraid to step in and send a message. Out of the ashes of a dumpster fire of officiating, a star was born. In one moment, Sophie didn't just defend her teammates, she lit the spark that could change the entire tone of the Fever season. And yeah, it might feel early to say this, but Sophie just became a household name across the sports world. Wow, we're already seeing the impact within 48 hours of that game. Sophie's name is everywhere. The clips are viral.
You know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom!
The fans are fired up, and the tone has changed because this is no longer Fever versus the league. It's Caitlin versus the world, and Sophie just became her undisputed bodyguard. And here's the wild part: that one moment could make Sophie millions. No exaggeration, we're already seeing the signs. Let's get into it. But first, like this video, drop a boxing glove in the comments if you appreciated Sophie stepping up, and subscribe for more WNBA updates. There's no denying that the Favors game against the Sun was a new low for the WNBA. The critiques about the officiating have been around forever. Kelsey Plum was literally in tears recently talking.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical, and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs.
About how she prays for it to get better, but what happened against the Sun made it abundantly clear it's open season on Caitlin Clark, and the refs aren't going to do a thing about it. JCS Sheldon went after the literal face of the league. And then, in the chaos that followed, Marina Mabori body checked Caitlin to the court. It was like Dane Carrington and Kennedy Carter had somehow cloned themselves and re-entered the game as a tag team.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry, I missed that one, Idona.
And the other angles of the play made it crystal clear. It was even more egregious than it looked in real time. JC's swipe wasn't just careless, it was targeted, and Marina didn't just bump Caitlin, she sent her flying. This kind of stuff would get flagged instantly in the NBA, but in the W apparently, it's just another Tuesday, and I will say it was a bit disappointing. Even though Lexi got in JC's face a bit, there wasn't a ton of pushback from the Fever on the court, especially from Stephanie.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
Right now, she absolutely redeemed herself in the press conference, but in the moment, fans were begging for her to go full Bobby Knight and launch a chair, which, let's be honest, would have been an incredible visual given that Knight coached Indiana. And before anyone starts with the Caitlins being soft narrative, just stop. There's no way this would happen to Steph or LeBron without consequences. The commentators were shocked that Moreno wasn't tossed for the body check, and here's the kicker. Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA right now than Steph or LeBron are to the NBA. That's not a hot take, that's just the reality. We saw what happened when Caitlin missed 5 games. Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers. Ratings didn't just dip, they cratered. Fever games were down over 50%. Entire league-wide interest plummeted. You'd think there'd be a league-wide directive: give Caitlin the bubble wrap treatment. Star calls, real protection, all of it. So yeah, this wasn't just a bad miss. Call it was insane treatment of the league's most valuable superstar, a total black eye for the WNBA. And now everyone is ripping the refs, fans, analysts, even former players. It's not just about missed calls, it's about disrespect on a league level, and I mean when I tell you, social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way. That's the understatement anyway. Even though the Fever were up big and cruising to a win, and Caitlin had already delivered the highlight of the night with that epic three-pointer and cold-blooded trash talk to the Suns bench, there was still something.
Made me think, think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected. Just a common technical foul. That would never happen. It would never happen.
Missing it didn't feel finished. It didn't feel settled. There was an emptiness, a lack of resolution, like the game was ending, but the message hadn't been sent. And then Sophie stepped in. That's a flagrant foul. It's a hard foul with the game in hand. Sophie dropped JC Sheldon with a hard foul and then promptly put her taekwondo training to good use. It was cathartic. Fever fans, WNBA fans, Caitlin Clark fans, everyone who's been fed up with how Clark's been treated finally got the pushback. They'd been screaming for, but it went deeper than just one play. That wasn't just about JCS Sheldon, it felt like. Sophie was fighting back for weeks of cheap shots, missed calls, and disrespect. Like she was sending a message on behalf of every fan who's watched the refs look the other way. It wasn't just a foul, it was payback. And I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating. Just like to everybody, because it is. If you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there's a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to. And here's where things get really interesting and why this goes way beyond just one hard foul. What happened against the Sun feels like a turning point for the league. Sure, maybe the WNBA takes a long hard look at its officiating issues and finally cleans things up. Maybe, but the lack of consequences for this, a face swipe followed by a body check on the league's biggest star, was a step too far. Alright, enough is enough. You know, at some point the line gets crossed too often, where something needs to be done, and things need to be corrected. There are two major outcomes from that game, and both are huge. On one hand, you've got Caitlin Clark fans who are already frustrated. For over a year they've been belittled by the media, told they weren't real basketball fans, and even called flat out horrible things, all while they were literally filling arenas and skyrocketing viewership. And now, after watching Caitlin get rat across the face and body checked to the floor with zero consequences, that frustration has turned into outrage. Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was some down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit. Lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her there, jealous. The players union. It looks like the whole league. There's a point in a lot of Caitlin Clark fans have reached it where it genuinely feels like the league doesn't want to succeed with Caitlin Clark, and when that happens, something shifts. Fans start rooting for two things at once. Caitlin Clark to keep dominating, and the league to completely fall apart in every game without her. Because if you're not going to protect her, promote her, or even acknowledge what she's doing for your growth, then why would her fans stick around for anything else? It's a terrible dynamic, one that divides the fan base, isolates the league's biggest star, and damages long-term growth. And then there's this. So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA. Where she displayed tonight was disgusting. Now look, you might think this is just internet noise or a silly little petition, and I'll get to Sophie's epic clapback in a minute because it's hilarious. But let's talk about what's actually happening. There are people out there, and not just trolls, but actual parts of the fandom, who are completely losing it. They're calling for Sophie to be kicked out of the league and demanding the WNBA move the All-Star game out of Indianapolis, and even calling for boycotts. And it's even more hilarious when you take a breath and look back just a few months. The anti-Clark fans, I am seeing them not only say celebrate Gary Fenn in this situation, but say that Sophie Cunningham was at fault for what happened, and she got what she deserved, and saying good job Kiki Finn in a preseason game against the Mystics. Clark haters were perfectly fine when Sophie Cunningham got taken to the ground hard. Not only did they defend the tackler Kiki Finn, they celebrated it. And some of the loudest voices online were even encouraging more of it. We are seeing literate people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player, and that's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham, and these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA. Encouraging literal violence against players. This is just my take, but it really feels like we have a league and a chunk of its fandom that cannot emotionally handle Caitlin Clark leading the way, and that doesn't just apply to her. It extends to anyone who supports her, plays with her, or defends her on the court. Just look back at what happened after the Sky game. When Angel Reese was fouled by Caitlin, the outrage immediately spilled over to the Fever. Players, fans started attacking them, to questioning their toughness, their response, even their character, simply because they didn't retaliate the way some people expected. That's not just sports talk, that's something deeper. It's like being associated with Caitlin Clark in any way makes you a target again. It's Caitlin Clark and her teammates against the world. The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said it's on site when I see you. Those are actual threats. And with all of that brewing, you now have the perfect storm for what's about to happen with Sophie Cunningham. Because she didn't just defend Caitlin, she stepped into a role that fans have been begging for. She became the enforcer, the one willing to take a stand, send a message, and put the league on notice. And that moment, that flagrant, that viral clip, that energy, it's already transforming her into a star. Not just in Indiana, not just with Fever fans, but across the entire sports world, because in just 48 hours, everything changed. You guys, it's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction Sophie's actions are going absolutely viral on social media. YouTube, everywhere you look, it's all anyone is talking about. And here's why that matters. Caitlin Clark's fan base isn't just loyal, it's massive. It vastly outnumbers any other players following in the league. They don't just watch, they organize, they post, they defend, and they elevate anyone who rides with Caitlin. And Sophie, she didn't just ride, she stood in front of the train and said, "Not today." She defended Caitlin Clark on the national stage in the middle of a physical, chaotic game, at a moment when fans were desperate for someone to step up. And now she's getting rewarded. Sophie gained almost 600,000 TikTok followers within 48 hours. Of the game. That's not just a bump, that's sponsors noticing, that's agents making calls. That's people who didn't even know her name 48 hours ago now calling her the bodyguard of the WN. It's just getting started. Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out. Her jersey sold out within hours. Fans who didn't even know her name a week ago were suddenly all in, and that petition to get her kicked out of the league. Sophie had the perfect response. They got beat up by the enforcers, but Sophie Cunningham has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about jerseys being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like, that is the best way of going about it. At the end of the day, people vote with their wallets and their attention, and this is a very strong sign that Sophie Cunningham, already known in WNBA circles, has now officially broken through as a Caitlin Clark fan favorite. And here's what I mean by that. Critics love to say that Caitlin Clark fans only care about Caitlin, that they don't support the WNBA, or even the Fever, just one player. But that's not true. Yes, they love Caitlin, but they also care deeply about the team she's on, and more than anything, they rally behind anyone who has her back. Well, it doesn't get any more on her side than what Sophie did. She stepped up, she took a hard foul, sent a message, and risked her own body to defend the face of the league, and now the fans are rewarding her big time now. I don't believe this is just some flash-in-the-pan reaction that'll wear off by next week. Sophie Cunningham just won over Caitlin Clark fans for life, and when that bond is built, check out what happens. Kate Martin, a second-round pick who averaged less than 3 points per game last year, sold more jerseys than the reigning league MVP. Why? Because she was Caitlin Clark's Iowa teammate. So now ask yourself, what do you think is about to happen with Sophie Cunningham? After she just went full enforcer mode, took a flagrant to send a message, and bonded with her fans, she's going to make bank. I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this season, this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go in to the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year, because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as a Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters. First off, Sophie already had the persona to be a star back in her Mercury days. She was moonlighting as a TV analyst for the Phoenix Suns and doing a damn good job at it. She's natural on camera. Charismatic, relaxed, the kind of person who can chop it up with the media, engage fans, and not sound like a robot reading cards. She gets it, and let's not forget, she's not just out there to throw elbows. She's not a goon. Sophie is a baller. She's hit big shots, made smart plays, and shown that she can be the veteran leader the Fever need. Whether it's a brawl, a big game, or a media storm for me to come in here, knowing what I've been taught, I kind of want to spread it around, especially with how talented this group is. I'm just excited to kind of maybe be that calm piece when it needs to be calm, that feisty, sassy stick up for my teammates when it needs to be that, and so just kind of reading the room, and whatever the team needs that day, being able to provide. Many were already calling her the Fever's most underrated signing, the X factor that quietly makes everything work, the one who gives Caitlin Clark and the Fever the toughness, spacing, and leadership they need to actually take over the WNBA. And now we're watching that prediction play out in real time. In a league that's turned personal fans versus the establishment, Caitlin versus the haters, one thing is clear. Caitlin Clark fans are fiercely loyal, and they are rallying behind anyone who defends her. Sophie Cunningham answered the bell loudly, publicly, perfectly, and now she's about to reap all the rewards. If you're still here, drop a basketball in the comments to say hi. Thanks for watching.